What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Safely made it to Hong Kong and getting started with filming a Hong Kong vlog this time around. So look forward to an update to the personal channel. But anyways, getting back to the call that I made on Wednesday before I departed, we ended up, flipping that previous resistance into support before price pumping. It was a trade that I called on Twitter. And so again, like, I personally would not be in the trade because I already mentioned that I would like time frame alignment before I took that trade. So I'm not going to officially call this as a win. But for those of you who have, made money from this trade, like, feel free to let me know if you managed to get a 2R down in the comment section below. It does really help me out, and at the very least keeps me going on, this journey of making daily videos. Like, for example, like, I was camera shopping until like 20 minutes ago, where I rushed all the way like through the city just to come back and record this video out for you guys. So yeah, if you guys find value from these videos, do let me know. It just keeps me going, gives me a reason to show up every day and to make sure that I get this video out to you guys. But anyways, besides that intraday win at the time, we now have the kind of like larger picture bearish scenario playing out, in the sense that I already mentioned the fact that this was a fair value gap and price ended up getting rejected from the fair value gap and now is heading lower. So let's see what we are going to do about this, especially from an intraday perspective today, but I'm also going to get into the longer term perspective as well. And to kick things off, let's start with the long term. So far, we are, going a little bit lower than I would like to see on this bullish order block right here. And that is, of course, a bad sign, because usually when it comes to bullish order blocks, you want to see price just come into the order block before bouncing, confidently and aggressively. That is not what is happening at the moment. This leads me to believe that there is a chance, or at least there is a likelihood, well, there is a pretty high likelihood that we are going to tap 107,500, which is this previous liquidity point right here. Now, previously, I would have expected this liquidity point to be kind of like the bottom, because price ended up bouncing from this bullish order block, as well as this larger time frame weekly order block right here. Like, just to show you guys what I mean, this is a weekly order block. Price was in the process of bouncing out of it confidently until we got this kind of price action. And so what's next? Is this over? Are we going to start going into a downtrend on Bitcoin? Well, the answer is that I think so. At this point, there is enough proof to where I may think so. But, as traders, we do not jump to conclusions. As traders, we do not try to predict what the market is going to do next, or rather, trade what we want to see from the markets. It's very important as traders that, we wait until all of the available data is available, and then we read and react. And in that case, the conclusive level is going to be here at 107,100. In the event that you break below this level right here, that would be a daily changing character, would also be a weekly changing character, and potentially even a change in order flow, because a break of this low right here, especially a weekly close underneath 108,000, it would mean that this bearish order block right here was respected. And the point where it's respected is because, well, once you come into this bearish order block, you fail to break above it, but you also form a new lower low. And so that's a really bad sign. Ideally, you don't want price to close below this, because then this level right here will become your new bearish order block for price to come into before we go into a further downtrend and potentially tapping, or rather going below the 100,000 level. Now, there is also a chance that, this may be the bull cycle top, maybe, but I want you guys to just pay attention to the larger picture here. This is still a level of support. This is also a level of support. And even without that level of support, we do have a fair value gap, which is a imbalance in price right underneath that liquidity level right there. It is not big, but still it is a valid one. And essentially, you may just go for a little, liquidity sweep here before one last push, either to form a lower high or a higher high. And I think that may be it for the rest of the bull run. And this is expected, or at the very least, I'm expecting this to happen sometime, closer to the end of the year. So right now, we may be going for a little retracement period, which is completely normal, by the way. Every time in this cycle that you have formed a new major high, for example here, major high, you go for a retracement period of like 5 to 6 weeks. Over here, once you form this new high, you go for a retracement of like 3 or 4 weeks before forming a next one. And when you take out this high right here, that is also like 8 to 12 weeks of retracement. Once you take out this new high, well, this was the previous all-time high at the moment. Well, this back at the time was the previous all-time high. And you went for like a 6-month retracement. Same thing for each and every single time where you form a new low during the cycle. Now, there are a lot of reasons why this may be the case, but I don't think it's important for us to understand that. What's important is that this is basically as per usual. The fact that we're spending this much time going into a retracement is completely normal. Markets always move from periods of high volatility to low volatility, and then from low volatility back into high volatility. So it's our job simply as traders to stay alive during these moments of chop, during these moments of retracement, before clear movement comes back again, and then we can take advantage of it. You will make way more money in 2 weeks of this type of price action or 3 weeks of this type of price action than you will from 12 months of this type of price action. It's all about understanding the market conditions, playing our cards right when the time is right, and playing our cards safely when it is not yet our time. Which is something you probably wouldn't be going all in on a pair of like 2s and 3s in poker. Maybe you would, I don't know, maybe you're that type of player, but one thing's for sure, objectively speaking, that is a subpar, decision quality. That is a subpar decision because you're going in very aggressively with a very weak hand. So if you extrapolate, sorry, I don't want to use fancy words here, but if you, just expand this out to like 10,000, like a sample size of 10,000, guess what? More likely than not, you will be losing money. So this is a negative expected value play. So not to get too deep into that, just understand that no panic so far. Like if the market conditions do flip towards the short side, it is what it is. Like we are still going to be, as traders, we're still going to be trading that towards the downside. And in the meantime, I will let you guys know if I do take profits on my bull run bags. I've already taken a little bit of profit back over here. I've already mentioned it, but like I'll let you know if I sell everything basically. Again, the goal is just one little disclaimer here. The goal is not to catch the absolute top. The goal is simply to leave the cycle heavier than when you came in. As long as you have that kind of mentality, you're going to be safe and you will have enough money to lead you into the next bear cycle where you will actually have free capital at hand to take advantage of any dips, any generational dips before the next bull run begins. So at the moment, so far, again, like we're starting to see signs where it's looking bearish, but we're not going to be super certain until a week later. And especially like by next Monday, I think we'll have our answer. So not too long left to wait, and definitely don't make any panic decisions right now, even though, again, the signs could be starting. But again, this is just our thoughts at the moment. This is not what the market is actually telling us. But going down to the daily chart, because we closed bearish yesterday, we are going to be looking for a bearish trade. Also, in fact, this is starting to seem like a bearish change in state of delivery. Again, we're going to look past this. We're going to just wait, be patient, but just understand that so far, I think the signs are about to be in. So this is the fair value gap right now that we have to pay attention on the 1 hourly chart. So in the event today, you retrace into this fair value gap, this is going to be a pretty straightforward setup. And by the way, in terms of these intraday calls, if you're new to the channel, understand that you're probably in the right place because we tend to be right more often than we're wrong, in the sense that so far since February of this year, I've done about 135 calls, not including the one on Wednesday that ended up winning. It was the right call, but I didn't take it. And out of the 135 calls, we have been correct on them on 108 of them. So that's about an 80% win rate. So if you're new to the channel, again, probably at the right place because we're right more often than we're wrong. So today, the intraday setup is going to be pretty straightforward because we have a bearish daily bias. We have also a bearish hourly bias, and the fact that we have a hourly PD array that we can take advantage of, we're just going to take it short from that point onwards. Let's take a look at the Asia session just to see if any of this lines up. And the good news is that the Asia high has not yet been swept. Now, for those of you who are wondering why I'm bringing up the Asia high, it's because during a bearish day, ideally, you want to take advantage of any price above the Asia high to go short. Similarly, if we're long, we want to look for a false move, right? Some kind of manipulation below the Asia lows before we distribute back to the other side. The fact that we have currently multiple relatively equal highs above the Asia high leading into the 1 hourly PD array leads me to believe that this could be the setup for today. So in the event that you are going to go into this level right here, all you need is some kind of 5 minutes change in state of delivery, and you're going to be all good to go short. Now, the reason why you have to wait for that 5-minute change in state of delivery is because, like, I want you to imagine en route to this level right here, you're going to be in bullish order flow, and you do not want to be shorting into some kind of bullish order flow. So ideally, you want to see, you're going to wait for the market to give you some signs that, hey, bearish order blocks are being respected, bearish fair value gaps are being respected. And at that point, only at that point, do you dive into a short. That is how you as a trader are able to mitigate a lot of risk or jumping in when there are only premature confirmations. And that's been an issue that you've always struggled with. Well, CISD is going to fix that for you. All you want to see, like I'm going to put this in layman's terms, is you would just want to see kind of like 2 lower lows and ideally at least 2 lower highs. Once that happens, that is, definitely a market structure shift. Now, if you want CISD, it's going to be when you get bearish order blocks being respected. Now, those long-time viewers here on the channel, you guys will already understand this. For those of you that don't worry, you will pick this up over the next few days or over the next few weeks as you watch this channel. But anyways, there is also a second possible scenario that could happen that you want to keep in mind, which is the fact that you just go straight down from this point onwards. If you just break down and go underneath 108,800, or even if you just break down straight away and you go below 108,800 by the time that you're watching this video, then chances are this entire block here is going to become your bearish order block and you just want to momentum trade it lower. Either way, the setup for today is going to be towards the bearish side of things. Now, I'm just going to take a look at the calendar just to see if we have news today, and we do in fact have news. And the reason why this is important is because ideally we want to be trading on news days. News days are when we get really clear movements, such as yesterday. And for example, Wednesday, right? We did not have news, and that's why the movement on Wednesday was so choppy and it was such a small movement compared to what we had yesterday. Yesterday was an aggressive dump, very straightforward. Now, news does not guarantee that it will be very clean and straightforward and volatile, but it at least guarantees that it's a better market condition compared to days where there is absolutely no news. And so again, the setup for today is going to be, you want to look for that kind of sweep above these levels in between the hours of 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Basically, you want to look for this to happen before news. You also want to look for that CISD to happen sometime as we get closer to news. So possibly between 8 to 8:30. Or if that happens, that's going to be the ideal setup. And don't worry, guys, if you are not sure as to what to do, feel free to follow me on Twitter at _theartofcrypto. If there is any live trades, then I will be calling it here. And lastly, you can expect this move to last, anywhere from an hour after a couple of hours after news. At the very least, that is where I'm looking to close. And as for targets, again, the setup always is just 2R, which means that if you place your trade here, and if you place your stop loss here, you just want to wait for this number to go to at least 2. So if you get something like this is already a very solid day of trading. It essentially means that if you're risking $1,000 here, you're going to make $2,000 back. You repeat this over the course multiple times a month, not even a lot. You do this 5 times a month, you're going to end up with $10,000 in profit. Accounting for losses, of course, like definitely you're not going to win all of your trades, but when you account for losses, this is something that you can expect. But anyways, now that we are done with Bitcoin, let's just take a look real quick at what Ethereum is doing. Ethereum has been, whoa, okay, pretty bearish. Damn, okay. Very bearish, in fact. So I do remember recalling that, we wanted to go short on Ethereum, but I wasn't quite expecting Ethereum to just completely blow through this feather gap right here. So one thing to understand for sure is that at the moment, there are 2 ways that this can play out. One is that this is already a major, right? Both of these levels here are already major changes in state of delivery in terms of the daily chart, which means that so far Ethereum is already in bearish order flow in terms of the 1 day time frame. The fact that you also have this heads and shoulders pattern here, it's not a great sign for the bulls. So potentially, if you're holding on to Ethereum right now, you may want to consider taking a little bit of profit when you get the next bounce up. And the next bounce up, there's another way that is to play out, which is some kind of a range deviation. If you take a look at this as the range high and this as the range low, once we swept the range high, we ended up, retracing all the way back to the range low. So at the moment, we have swept below the range low, so there is a possibility that you can retrace all the way to the range high right here to take out this buy side liquidity at 47.70. So that is a possibility, but just understand that so far at the moment, this is bearish order flow. And the next time that you go up, definitely consider taking some profits, because otherwise you may risk leaving the cycle with not much. Now, in terms of the intraday kind of trade, it's going to be also pretty straightforward. We can see here that the Asia high has not yet been taken, but price is already kind of breaking lower after filling in this bearish order block right here. So if I were to stick to a short, I think I'm going to stick to Bitcoin. It seems a little bit clearer at this point, but Ethereum is also valid in the sense that this is already a bearish order block. Price so far, if you close below this candle right here at 39.20 within the next 17 minutes, then this is going to become your new hourly bearish order block. And so when you retrace into 39.20, you can just take a trade towards the short side, or take your profit at 38.20. Or if we zoom out a little bit, nope, that seems to be the only target. So if you take a trade something like this, it will look, you place your stop above the order block and you take your profit at 2R. In this case, this would be a 3.3. If you place your stop loss well above this order block, actually, you're still going to end up with the 2R trade. So that's going to be trade setup for Ethereum, just because it's looking pretty bearish. And Solana, we could potentially do the same. If we close underneath this weekly order block right here, it's going to look pretty dangerous. Whoa, okay. We've already closed below some, like all across the board. I think we're seeing some, bearish changes to state of delivery, at least from the daily chart, which is a high enough time frame. So this is going to be looking a little bit sketchy. I'll try to do a bit of digging and do a bit more research and come up with kind of a longer term outlook on all of these points sometime during this weekend. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, turn on the bell notification. And yeah, for today, I'm not going to, overload you with information. I'm going to call it here. If you would like to prepare yourself for whatever the bear market is going to bring, for example, if you're not confident that you're going to be able to make money inside a bear market, I can help equip you with all of those skills one-on-one. I'm going to coach you personally so that you're able to trade or at least get results similar to what we've been able to do here publicly. Everything's tracked. If that's interesting to you, click the first link in the description box below. But otherwise, guys, I'm going to enjoy Hong Kong for a bit and see you guys on Monday, or see you guys somewhere during the weekend if I film a video. Ciao, ciao.